What is the reason why we want to be good at something? Why do we train so much? And why do we always want to get to the next level? And what for? Well, let's find out. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZoukNerds. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the reasons, the influences, and the whys do we want to become so good at something such as dancing? And why do we spend so much time and money and invest so much in it? As well as, we're going to share our experiences and give you some tips on how to deal with this in a better way. So, let's go! Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode. My name is Alisson, and today we're here with Gui Prada. Hello, Gui.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Today we're going to be talking about a topic that has, once again, been creating a lot of discussion in our group, which is, what is the catalyst for training in dance? What makes you train harder? What was the one thing, or maybe the one person, that changed how you train in dance? But before, we do believe that we need to talk about one more thing that connects these two things, which is why. Why should you even train that hard? Why should you get to a point to choose to train that hard? What is the purpose of dancing in your life? As we were talking about making this episode, we were discussing our own journey, and we came up with multiple times and multiple different reasons why we decided, all right, now let's go. Let's put more time into it. Let's put more money into it. Let's change how we structure our training and our learning experience. So I think that is how we should start.
Yeah, I like that. Because as we were talking, a lot of stories started to pop up in my head, and probably in your head too, né, Alisson? About the different moments in our lives that something happened that created the strong desire to train a little harder, to put more time into it. And then we also mentioned connecting with the why. And then I remember my first catalyst to start training, which was the novelty of it. First time I saw partner dancing, I went into it strongly because I realized there was a magical world that could be available to me. And in order to have more and more access to that world, as a social dancer, as a community member, was getting better. And the desire to get better was a desire to be a part of this new world that I was finding out and extract all the juice that I could extract from these worlds. And at that time, I thought, in order to be accepted in this new place, in order to be a part of this new place, I need to know this language really well. And of course, we had all this incentive. We were stimulated by our instructors to train hard, to get good, and to get good in the sense of have more fun with it, enjoy more it. So the aspect of the community that I was a part of, the communities that I was a part of, and the school that I was a part of, and the people that I was around also had an impact in how we trained and what we trained as well. So that was, I think, a good way to start, like sharing like what was this very first catalyst of training that I can remember in my dance life. That is actually, now that I think about it, that was actually the second one. The first one, I can mention later, but I want to hear yours, Alisson. What is your first catalyst?
Well, to be honest, when I started dance classes, it wasn't because I wanted and I went there on my own. It was because I had a best friend at the time who was dancing, and I was going through some really bad moment in my life as a teenager. And his mom and him really just pushed me into dancing and signed me up. Literally, they signed me up. For the first month or two, I didn't really like it, and I didn't want to train. I didn't even want to go to the classes. My best friend's mom would drive to my house and literally drag me out of my home to take me to the dance school. But about 2 months after, I fell in love. And I fell in love because I felt included, I felt seen, and I felt like people wanted to be around me. Now, rewinding back a little bit, the reason why this was so important to me was because I grew up as a very lone wolf. I didn't really have friends. I didn't really have a very healthy household. So even me and my family, we didn't really have a good connection for many years. So I was just really alone all the time, doing things by myself, going to school. I didn't even have friends at school. So when I started dancing, and after 2 months, I felt like I was part of this family. What made me train and what made me want to be there was that feeling of being part of a family, being part of a group of people that actually wanted to talk to me and wanted to spend time with me. So that was the very first one. I think it was an emotional one. It was a place where dance filled me up with joy of doing something with people, which is something that I didn't think I was able to from my previous experiences. So that was my first one. And at that point, I just put everything into it because I don't know if you guys kind of noticed by listening to our episodes, I'm a little bit of like all or nothing kind of person.
Yeah.
So, oh, bro, like I was there Monday to Monday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, evenings. Saturday all day, Sunday all day. And Saturdays we had parties. So I would actually, a lot of the times, sleep at the dance school because there was no transportation to go back home. And nobody would drive towards where I used to live. So that was very much the first one for me. So what was your actual first one? Now that you've shared your second one.
Yeah, I will share. And with that, I think listening to you speaking, the desire to belong to the group, the desire to be included in that group, it's a big motivator, it's a big catalyst, I think. And the more I think about it, and the more I think about the students that come to us and my personal experiences, that desire to belong is still there. It's still there. It's more like it changes over time because the community and the scene change. And we might think that in order to belong, we need to acquire a new set of skills. But I'm thinking of this desire to belong as something really powerful, which is, now that I think about it, the first catalyst as well, because the first catalyst was not actually a catalyst to train, but was a catalyst to join, was the reason to join, which was the movie Shall We Dance with Richard Gere and Jennifer Lopez, the one from 2004, which was the first time that I found partner dancing in a little gym in my neighborhood, in the back of the gym of the neighborhood. There was like a couple there teaching partner dancing Tuesdays and Thursdays, something like that. And that was when I first started. I think I was 14 years old or 13. And it was just the novelty of it all. And because in the movie, what happens in the movie is that Richard Gere has all of these things. He has a beautiful family, has a stable job, a house, but he feels some emptiness inside. And when he joins the dance school, Miss Mitzi's, he finds friendships, he finds something that motivates him, and he finds something that he can become good at, that is not his work. So there was a ginormous motivation to me that inspired me a lot. But the reason to train harder became after I actually joined it and I saw what was possible. Because before I joined, we don't know what it is. Né? We just imagine how it would be like. But you join the school and you see what it can be, what is possible when you watch the more experienced people dancing. And then you just watch them moving around and like, oh my God, they look so nice. I want to be able to do that. And on top of that, we see how they are treated by everybody else. So everybody else likes to dance with them. Everybody else is around them. And we want that too. So that desire to be recognized, desire to be, the desire to be desired, but in the sense of people want to dance with me. People have a good time dancing with me. I want that for me. So that motivates you to train. And the kind of training is also something interesting as well. Because when I started dancing, my idea of training was around learning the new movements. And then over time, the idea of training started changing. My catalyst changed because what was the motivation for me now was I want to be able to provide the most comfortable dances possible because I saw my main inspiration instructors doing that. And I was like, that's where the secret is, that's where the sauce is. And that was the catalyst. Seeing how the followers would come out of the dance with my instructors. And that was the motivation. Like, I want that. That's what I want. And then I changed the nature of my training. The focus on my training became the comfort of the dance. And again, there's more to share, but I want to hear from you, Alisson. There was like this change as well. Because we know, we get into school, there is fire, we train, all the things. Was there a change in the nature of the training as you went on?
Yes, but before that, I want to break some hearts here by sharing some news that I have never watched a dance movie. I know whenever I share this to people, they cannot believe. I have actually been part of a musical based on the movie Grease, but I have never watched Grease.
Okay.
I know. I don't know why. I've always wanted but didn't want to watch. It was almost like I love this so much that I don't know if something is going to change if I watch those movies. I don't know. I just didn't feel like watching those movies would help. So then I almost had like a fear of watching and something changing. So up to this day, I have not watched Grease, Shall We Dance, any of those catalysts for a lot of people, which is something that we hear from a lot of students who said, I saw this movie and one day and I always thought I want to be part of it. And anyway, so the dance school that I came from was very based on showcases. So we used to have showcases twice a year. And every 6 months, we would be cast to dance so many routines. As I was part of the Bolsista teams, and for those of you who are new, Bolsista is like an internship or a scholarship that we can get in Brazil when you're low income and you cannot really afford the monthly dues for the school. You can sign up for that. So every 6 months, I was being cast to different routines and to different levels and to different roles. And I think that was my follow-up catalyst. And as you were talking about it, I can kind of see a pattern here that we didn't plan to talk about, but a pattern that a group of people that you want to belong to, like a different tribe, is what moves us a lot of the times. So like from being a very beginner to just being part of that group, just that group, any group. And then the second one was like, okay, now I want to be part of the group that get cast to dance certain routines. So I need to train really hard. I need to learn as much as I can. So then the teachers and the choreographers will think, oh, that guy can participate in this routine because I'm always looking for the next level, the next thing. Okay, how can I upgrade? Next phase. So once I was part of the general cast, I want to go up a level. I want to be part of that cast that is select to some of the more complicated or longer routines. So that was the second one. And then the third one was probably me wanting to be part of the assisting and teaching team, which then got me to start assisting and having the opportunity. And that is before I moved to Australia, which is a whole other phase of level of catalyst and reasons why I trained harder and I put more of my life into it. So yeah, it's interesting because we see that a lot in our community, and it's something that we try to teach our students to not fall into. But then looking at my own past, I see that I was kind of part of that. So maybe that's why we try to encourage our students not to fall for that trap.
Yeah, because I think we fall into a sort of autopilot of training, of thinking that we should be continuously improving. And then have two issues there, the should and the improving, right? Especially in the terms of what improving mean. And that's the idea of finding that why. Yeah, the why, or what is it that the dance is doing for you at that particular moment in your life. As you were saying, I remember that I wanted to be an assistant at the school too. I wanted to be an assistant at Jaime Arocha. And the assistant had at least 6 years of dancing. And the assistant knew really well samba de gafieira, bolero, forró, salsa, soltinho, Brazilian Zouk. And I think that was it. Tango. Did I say tango? No. So you had to be proficient in 7 whole dances. So the catalyst was, I want to be an assistant. I want to become an assistant. So I was training really, really intensely towards that goal. Training every day, like you, going Monday, but not Monday to Monday. Sunday, we didn't have class. We had class Saturday. And Sunday, we had a social. Still there, still dancing. And I realized over the course of time that the motivation that I had to become an assistant at first started to change, started to move away. And the changing circumstances in my life also changed my approach to social dancing and what I was extracting from it. So when I joined, I had just finished 1 semester of history. I was starting law school. 2 years later, I started my internships in law firms. So then I needed to reduce quite a lot how much I was dancing. So that goal of becoming an assistant started to change because I realized what I'm extracting from dance right now is not in the realm of becoming a professional. It's in the realm of becoming a good enough of a social dancer that I can have fun with more people, that I can dance with more people, more different kinds of music, in different environments, in different places of the city, because I would go from place to place and very different music would play at times, especially in samba de gafieira. I remember the first time going to a social outside of Jaime Arocha and listening to fast songs back to back to back to back, while my training in Jaime was mostly slow music. And that was a catalyst. I need to learn how to dance to fast music, you know? So it became related to what is it that I need to do in order to social dance more in more places, to different kinds of music and different kinds of technique, different approach to the technique. So it was not more being an assistant, being a professional, be a teacher, it was more being a very good social dancer. So the whole thing pivoted and changed. And my whole approach to training changed. So I felt more comfortable once I got to the social again. I could dance to the fast music. I was still alive after 3 songs. I was not like sitting on the chair dying in a puddle of sweat because I learned how to manage my energy. And then I was set. I was like, good. So after I reached the thing that I thought I needed for my fun, for my well-being in the dance, I would rest afterwards. So then I realized there was this like, oh, there is a need because I'm realizing that I am not being able to be comfortable in that particular music or space or style. I trained that, found, good, now I rest. Enjoy until the next thing comes again. And it was like that for most of the time. So I started dancing seriously, going every day, 2006. I was introduced to partner dance in 2004, but serious 2006. It took me like 11 years or so to have a drastic change in why I train and why and how I train, which came after started to teach. But before that, it was basically this, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. And when I see a student or I see someone who wants to join Brazilian Zouk coming in with a mindset that they think that they should be constantly training, the question that I ask is, what is it that right now the dance is bringing to you? And what is it that you would like to achieve in the dance? And most of the time we realize that people, again, just want to belong, just want to be accepted in that environment. And they are training the things that they think will bring that acceptance. Yeah. So it's a lot of variables now to consider. But my invitation here for now is for everyone that is listening to make that question to themselves and see, what is it? We even have a case here now, Alisson, of a student of ours that was taking all the classes in the world, 2 classes happening at the same time. He was in both classes, and then he stopped everything, suddenly stopped. But I was seeing him social dancing and he looked amazing. And then he said, oh, I had my fill of training. Now I just want to enjoy. That's beautiful. I think very healthy mindsets, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the challenge that I want to bring to the table here. How much of that growth that you had, was it really because of the fast music, or because you wanted to be like the ones who could do too fast music and not get tired? So I kind of like want to bring this challenge of like, where is the scale of like, this is really for me, or I think that this is for me and an internal desire, but really it is because I'm not being able to do like the others. So I'm comparing myself to others, because that's kind of like what was going through as a storm in my head. The typical case that we see in our ZoukNerds group a lot, which is Jack and Jill's, for example. How much is it your internal growth to be comfortable in that position regardless of everyone around? Or do you want to feel as comfortable and as confident as the others?
Yeah, it's a very good question.
That is really something that every now and then I kind of go back and forth with my own self in my head. Am I truly doing this because I understand my why? Or I'm saying that this is because of my why, but deep down, this why was created because of a comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, like maybe you compared and you looked, wow, those people can do this. This is why I cannot do it. Cool. That's the comparison. But then you still, in a healthy and productive way for yourself, you manage to find your why regardless of that comparison, which is where I am nowadays with my own demos, competitions, shows, classes. I understand that there is a comparison, and I do watch the market and I see everything that is going on. And I see those points. Okay, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. But what do I truly want to work on for myself? What do I feel like it's going to benefit my mindset and my own personal, professional life the most? Versus what is it going to be a benefit for me when compared to that group, or to belong to that group of people who can do that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of like going back to your example. You wanted to be confident to dance fast songs and make everybody feel comfortable. From your description, it felt like it was a very honest you wanting that. But I'm just bringing this to the table because I think a lot of the times this can be a mask when the real reason is the others.
The
comparison. The
Yeah.
comparison.
I think definitely there is a comparison in the sense of there is something others can do that I can't. And therefore, I want to be able to do that too. So there is, I think, in that part, there is a comparison point to it. So the thing that I noticed at that time was I enjoyed the music. I really liked that music because in the school that I was dancing, the music was, like I said, slower, more romantic and stuff, had a different sound. And then I got to this new place. I remember it was a place used to be called Centro Cultural Carioca. It's the Carioca Cultural Center. And I went there and the music that they were playing, I haven't heard that music before. And I couldn't dance to it. So I liked the music and I couldn't dance to it because I could not physically move that fast. Yeah? I tried and my legs wouldn't follow along. So there was this internal desire of like, how come my legs cannot move to the speed of this song? So there was this thing because comparing myself to the other dancers, they would dance the dance itself in a different way. And there was another aspect of it as well. I remember leading some of the movements that I learned and they resulting in something completely different or resulting in nothing at all at times. There was a particular move that we learned at Jaime that was like styling during a step called Romário, which is something that the follow goes around the leader and had a little kick. And we learned how to lead the little kick. And I remember leading the kick in the way that I learned and the follow just moving their hips forward because that's what they felt. And then I realized two things. Oh, there are other techniques. There are other ways of dancing this dance. On top of, I don't know how to dance fast music. So in that particular situation, I think that was more related to realizing there was a whole portion of the dance that was mysterious to me that I haven't seen before and I needed to discover. Because I didn't have at the time the intention of dancing exactly like them because there was a lot of jumping. There was a lot of like up and down. And the dance that we had learned was more flat and gliding. And then I had the desire later to learn the jumpy stuff. Yeah, because then I was like, oh, I want to be able to do that too. I was like, so it's fully comparison. I want to be able to do that, especially when I would go to a very famous samba de gafieira social in Rio at a place called Caxanga do Malandro. And I remember being completely terrified of going there. Still am. Because I look at how they dance, I look how I dance, like I don't fit in here. So I would go into it with a lot of fear. And then in that part, there was a great deal of comparison there, for sure, in that end. And then in that particular case, my decision making was more related to, I don't think I need to train that because it doesn't resonate right now with the way that I enjoy the movement. So I think in the first case, when I went to the Carioca Cultural Center for the first time, was these realizations. There's a different technique I need to explore. There's a speed I don't know how to dance. And the second one was there's this whole environment that dances like this. But I don't really wanna dance like this. At least not right now. And it hasn't changed yet. So yeah, it definitely makes sense what you mean, especially in our Brazilian Zouk scene nowadays. I think the Brazilian Zouk scene carries some specifics that I did not observe in the past. In the dança de salão scene, bolero, samba, forró, all these things scene, there are some specifics to Brazilian Zouk that I don't see or I didn't see in those scenes that I think drive the desire to train differently, maybe. Especially in terms of evolution, how quickly the dance changes and how quickly new things come up, which I think is a current catalyst for people They see the new thing, like, oh my God, I need to train this thing. Oh my God, I need to train this thing. Because they think that's the thing now. And if they don't know, they'll fall behind. And in certain aspects, there is reasoning behind it. Yeah. So, yeah, I liked the invitation for the reflection. And I think it makes a lot of sense. 100%.
But another one, just piggybacking on what you just said. Is it really the dance or the place in time that we are now? Or is it technology's fault that puts it in front of us and shows us that we don't know?
Technology's fault.
Because back in the day, what would you do? You'd have to travel to Rio. In my case, I was in São Paulo. I would have to travel to Rio and go to a good social and see those amazing dancers to then have a comparison. Because how else would I compare? There were no YouTube, no nothing. Occasionally, you could go to a dance congress and you could buy a VHS of social dancing. Like, no joke. You could buy a VHS that people would sell, like just recording a social.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the big problem nowadays that we have. We are seeing so much content all the time. And maybe that also drives the amount of content being created.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we look at Cuban salsa back in the day, or casino, samba, forró, even lambada, people were happy to just dance basically the same movements all night for months, years, because it was all about the play between the partners in the music.
Yeah.
Not necessarily being able to do the next thing or the trendy thing, but it was more about that quality of connection and play, and how much do you know the music, and how creative can you be with the same movements to a different song or a different part of the song.
Yep.
Instead of like, how many words can you type per second?
Yes.
You know? So, wow, technology making our life so stressful.
Very stressful.
So technology is supposed to help us.
And you know what is funny about that you were mentioning? I thought about the pockets that sometimes can create, that exist actually. The pockets of learning that exist, that drives people differently because of the environment. For example, Jaime Arocha in 2007, 8, 9 had a dance company, had a team of assistants, a team of monitors, a team of teachers. So it's a whole, this giant, big structure where you could hit those places. You could get to these places. You could become a member of the dance company. You could go to the carnival and dance in the carnival with the choreography, with the choreographed part of it. And then we have these other schools in downtown who are like this, is just 1-2 rooms, basically this pool of students. And you go there, it's almost like going into a bubble inside a bubble inside a bubble inside a bubble. You know, my aunt belongs to a neighborhood dance school in Rio. Never heard of it. Never heard about the teacher. She's there. She has like, over 100 people there. And she learns there. She dances there. The socials she goes are all there. She knows that part. So her motivation to train comes from what she knows, which is that, the little bubble inside the bubble inside the bubble. Which is now with social media, is almost like the bubbles are popped. We have the global bubble where we are constantly seeing everything and thinking that, oh, I need to train because I need to dance like that. This is the question that I got once from one of our friends here, that she thought that in order to be a good dancer, she should be more present on Instagram. And then I was like, what do you mean by that? Because she said, all the cool kids are on Instagram and then they get good dances. They go to the socials, everybody wants to dance with them. So I want to train to get better, to do better videos so people know who I am. And when I get to the social, I have a good time because people know who I am. People know that I dance well because they saw that I dance well on Instagram. So I need to train more for that. And I found that fascinating. How she got to that conclusion was the part that was really interesting to me. And of course, we had more conversation about it, but it's just to show the ginormous complexity that exists in what is the catalyst for someone to want to train and what drives them to continue training, sometimes for reasons that they think is one, like you're saying, you thought it was because to make it better for yourself, to dance to fast samba, but there was maybe something behind the comparison, all these other things. So I think in the end is inviting again everybody to reflect on these things. Whenever you get this desire to train, maybe see why am I training right now? Because both you and I, and Alisson, we had ginormous catalysts that drive us to train differently. In your case, I think it was when you moved to Australia or when you wanted to get your visa. In my case, it was when I moved here and I realized, oh, now I'm a dance teacher. I need to teach this thing. So I need to know what I'm talking about, So like other driving forces like create this push for us to train. And I think now the catalyst, and I'm going to be really vulnerable here, one of the catalysts that I have to train at times is insecurity and fear of falling behind, of this idea of falling behind, of this idea of not being relevant to the scene. And in the end of the day, what this all leads to, the fear of not having survival, not having work, and then, in order to have work, I need to update myself. In order to update myself, I need to train. So all these things, like I said, super complex, but Australia, visas.
Bro, it kind of like, I think, works for everybody who is put in a position where they don't have an option, really. My case was when I went to Australia, went there for 3 months to study English and go back to Brazil. Didn't go as a dancer, didn't go to teach or anything like that. But I was offered an opportunity to start teaching there. And I took that opportunity and I started. And then I decided to stay. So I got another student visa, another one. And after like 2.5 years of student visa, I was out of options, basically. But then I got to a point where I saw the opportunity to maybe be recognized by the government as a talent that deserves a visa to stay in the country. And that was the next push that I got, because for that visa, it's called a Distinguished Talent Visa. And you have to be one of the most influential and connected and high-performing talents locally, nationally, and internationally. So that was more of a survival moment where I had no option. It was either make or break it. Because if I didn't get it, I would have to leave the country and go back and start a life back in Brazil again after being away for so long and leaving everything behind. So that was one thing, but I do not recommend anything like that because that was also what led me into a future episode, but led me to a burnout and it led me to quit dancing, which I did. After 10 years of doing what I just described, I quit dancing because the catalyst was not connected to the person. The catalyst was like a carrot dangling in front of me. Get the next thing, get the next thing, get the next thing. And forget about you, forget about your feelings, forget about your physical health, mental health. Just go for it. And that was not Gucci, not yummy. So I don't recommend that. But that's a whole different episode. What I wanted to kind of like suggest here on what you were talking about before and what we've been saying is to unplug. I think this really helps me to not be looking at dance videos all the time. I put this into comparison with people having body issues because they're constantly looking at photos that are maybe real, maybe touched up, photoshopped, I don't know. But that brings that feeling of comparison and feeling of like, I can never be, I'll never be, I'm not good enough. So watching dance videos all the time online as well by people who are not humans, let's put it this way. The dance professionals that are full-time training, full-time living this life as professionals performers, not just teachers, but like they're real performers, popping on Instagram. That's not something to compare yourself to. It's something to appreciate. It's something to look and see the beauty of somebody who can have the body and the life and the training that those people do. But don't compare yourself to those people. I think it's best if you actually look wherever you can look at for social dancing videos of regular people that are not full-time training performers like those people are. Yeah, those are the videos that I think brings me the most joy. Often students will come to me and say, hey, have you seen this video of this couple or that couple or that couple? No, I have no idea because I don't watch. I just don't watch. But I do watch social dancing of students, of people who are like sharing their journey. To me, that's more interesting to watch and see the journey of the community because, I don't know, that to me brings me more joy and more happiness in my dance journey to see how other people are enjoying, which is one of the reasons why I would pay subscription to watch a camera in socials all over the world. I would pay good money for just like flicking through social dancing and just watch people dance on the floor when there are no cameras, obvious cameras, and like when nobody's watching. I love that. That is my biggest passion.
True. I share that. The watching the floor whenever I get to watch the floor, or even during class, during rotation, or when the students are practicing, watching that dance, it is very motivating. And I think, however, that we come from a different mindset when talking about this topic because our eyes might have been trained differently to see beauty and appeal in these different things. Yeah. I think when we talk about the pros, they had their catalyst, a strong one. I want to change my life. I want to travel the world and teach dance as my profession. So they train their asses off on that purpose. That's a big catalyst. Yeah? And then what we see is the result of that. And I think we said so many times already that the comparing yourself to that is quite unfair because the amount of time and effort that was put into getting to that point. I wanted to share one thing that happened with a friend recently where they realized that in the way that they trained, they were only having fun, like true powerful experiences with 4 people all over the planet. And then they realized it's not possible that I can only have fun with, I have fun with more people, but that I can only have this full sensation of surrender and belonging and presence with only 4 people in the world. So that was a catalyst for them to train technique, but from a different perspective. How can I train? How can I understand more people? How can I be led and followed more by more people, And I found that really, really cool, a really interesting catalyst that resonated a lot with me. Finding the ways to dance with more people and train these ways, train the lead and follow techniques to be understood and understand more people. Just wanted to share this one because I also found to be a really interesting one that might resonate with some of you that are listening when you're thinking, I need to train. It might be that you need to train or that you want to train, didn't follow stuff, so you can have a better time when you social dance.
And I think this is a good way to kind of like wrap this up and understand, in the end of the day, we're always talking about the why, right? This is something that is connected to everything in our life. So as long as the why is beneficial to your personal life and your goals for your personal life and your quality of your mental health and your connections in your life, I think all the catalysts, big or small, they're really, really, really good. But when they are disconnected to your needs, your own needs as a person, then it's something that can drive you to quite a negative place. So understanding this is something that I really highly recommend you to kind of dig a little bit and find if the catalysts that you have in your life, in your dancing right now, are aligned with your own needs.
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Alrighty then. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us and listening or watching us one more time in our ZoukNerds podcast. And we'll see you on the next one. Beijos, beijos. Abraços. Tchau.